We'll ask you to bless our soldiers in uniform, Lord, as they fight on foreign soil, Father. We ask you to bless the uniformed people here in Ascension Parish and the state that do a service, Lord God. We ask many blessings on everyone here tonight, Father. We ask this in your Son's name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey, Mac. What's up, buddy?
Roll call. I believe everybody's here. Public comment section. Anybody want to speak on the agenda item, please sign in. You have 3 minutes to speak on the agenda item. Sign-up sheet's right up front right here. We'll move on to number 4, acceptance of minutes of March 6, 2006. Got a motion by Mr. Savoy. Second by Mrs. Sponto. Any questions? Any objections? So moved. We'll get the Parish President's report. Actually, it's going to be number 9, Flood Awareness Month. We're going to move up to his report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. It's just a reminder to all of us, and Bill Rue will be representing the administration most of the things tonight, but April is Flood Awareness Month, and obviously we have had problems in our parish over the years with that, so we just want to encourage all of our citizens to be aware of that and take necessary precautions. We're aware of the new flood maps that are being developed by FEMA now, going through preliminary public hearings and so forth. So anyone in the parish has questions on some of that need to also get with our public works people as well as our engineering firms. But we want to just encourage our citizens as we prepare for hurricane season, which will be here. We don't want to think about what happened last year, but it's less than 2 months now that a new season began. So it's really important that we prepare well, and we'll be put together. We're working on it through the Office of Emergency Preparedness now, a video program to put on the local government access challenge just to help our people prepare. And we also want to encourage our citizens in the local phone books. There's emergency preparedness guides in there as well. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Any questions?
I do, Mr. Savoy. I just feel that the need of the importance of talking about the floodplain map, that FEMA is coming out and reevaluating and changing the lines, especially for the viewers, particularly in my district, which I went and got a map from of the existing floodplain map and the proposed new one. In my particular district, just about my whole district is going to fall inside a floodplain, in the floodplain now. Now, somewhere along the line, we need to bring to the public's attention exactly what that's going to entail to the individual landowner and property owner in terms of flood protection, flood insurance, the cost of flood insurance, and what's out there and what's available. And they need to be brought up to date on the movement of this as they come out. I hear there's going to be a public hearing. I'd like to know exactly where and when. And it seems like we or somebody should know where that's going to be. Because I'm going to work toward having a good turnout from my district that's going to be affected. For instance, myself. I've just moved in a new house 4 years ago, and I wasn't even in the floodplain. I built my house, my slab, 16 inches above my road, which my road never went over. Now I'm going to be in the floodplain. All right? So it's going to affect everybody in my district, in District 6, the Santa Maria area. I don't know. I have not looked at the rest of the districts. So you need to go and check your districts and see what changes are going to be. Some of these may be valid. I'm telling you now, I'm going to argue some of mine. Some of these changes I see on my district, I'm going to have to argue because it's serious. And they're talking about insurance. I talked to Miss June real quick this evening. She's talking about flood insurance may be costing as much as $4,000. So it's a serious issue that everybody needs to be on top of, and the administration needs to bring the information as it rolls off the press to the public and to the council so we can stay on top of it and find out when and where the public hearing is going to be or any other discussion of it that FEMA's putting on. That's all I got.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Hillingsworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. CJ and Bill, I guess, these maps are preliminary at this point, right? We don't have finalized versions, and that's the reason why we're going to have public hearings, have some input, and isn't that the case?
Yes, it is. And what happens in this case, I think they automatically hold a couple of public hearings, but we're going to have a series of them, hopefully in every district, every section of the parish, so we can have get to as many people as we can on a localized situation, so we can talk to the people that might be affected by it. But this is not the final decree. Once these maps are out, what happens to and this is what the key is: floodplain management. Our floodplain manager plays a key role in getting certain things changed in that map. If we can prove that that there is some situations where the map is not accurate, floodplain management can have input into correcting some of this. So we're going to be very active in that. And CJ and Miriam, especially CJ as the floodplain engineer, is reviewing it and really going to be active in this plan.
I guess my question, Bill, is what kind of timeline or window are we looking at for this process to run its course? When might we be looking at finalized maps?
It won't be until the end of the year.
Okay.
Yeah, we have months away before it's actually finalized, and
So
we have
people
again,
are going to have some time to react then.
right. And we're going to contact the Corps tomorrow. I just talked to CJ, and they have not set a date for the first meeting, but we're going to contact them tomorrow and see what their timeline is. If they do not have a timeline, we're going to get our probably get together at DPW and try to initiate a timeline so we can start putting these meetings together.
Any more questions? Tom?
Yeah, Bill, would you get all of us a copy of that preliminary map?
I can try. Now, the map, I think, might be on the website. So that's your best route right now. Go to the website. And for the public, too. We'll have that at the Ascension Parish website, links to that site where you can actually go bring it up in your section of the parish, look at it, and they have it's the whole map. They have the legend where you can go to it and read off what the different classifications mean. So I think that's your best asset to learn what's going on with the maps.
Mr. Rue, I could go to the website and look at it, but it's really hard. Usually if I'm reading a document or something from the website or whatever, I usually like to print it out. And this is not going to print on normal paper.
No.
That's why if you could get us a
Well,
copy.
we'll try. Again, what we have came from the Corps of Engineers. So we'll see
Well,
what...
I mean, even if you've got a copier at the parish that you could copy one, I'll go pick it up.
No, we'll have to have it go to commercial site and have it copied. These are large plats,
What about
large
individual
maps.
districts would be probably satisfactory? It would be a whole lot smaller
Yeah.
scale instead of the
Right.
full map.
I'll have to check and see what's the map, what format the maps are in.
Yeah, Jerry's got a smaller copy.
Got a smaller copy.
Well, Bill, we could get, what I'm asking is get the administration a copy of a large-scale map where we can understand it and look at it.
IS department, I'll turn it over to them tomorrow and see
Thank
what
you.
they can do.
Appreciate it, Bill. Any more questions?
I do have one more comment in reference to preliminary. History, from my sources, if you look at history, FEMA normally goes with the preliminary map. So I think it's important that we get on the front end of this thing during the preliminary discussion and talks, because from what I'm being told, the history is they normally stick with their preliminary. That's just for FYI. Thank you.
Mr. Shakespeare.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the parish president's report on here. One of the things I'd like to see, though, is that we seem to have replaced the DPW report with parish president report, and we're not getting.
Should be.
Are we going to get a report by DPW on drainage? Because it's not on here, and I want to find out what's happening drainage wise in the area. So.
We can make sure it stays on the agenda, Bill.
Because it hadn't been on the agenda the last 2 months. So, yes.
If I may, Councilman, one of the reasons is, as you know, we went to the new Cartograph computer system. And to be honest with you, it's so detailed. Our report, I think, can be maybe 50 or 100 pages. Because now, instead of just, we have a lot more detail to the reports. It's very hard to type out a detailed report for each council member. So if you wish, we can attempt to do it.
I want to have something that's going to tell me what's going on, in the general area that we are in, so that we know what's going on and when things are happening. If we have a ditch that is on the list, we just need to know when it's going to be addressed, and or if it has been addressed, and what is the progress going on. It's just something that we should know in order to keep up with things, so we know where things are going and what's happening. Especially in the area you're responsible for, but it can be anywhere.
Bill, doesn't the work order program?
Oh, the work order program is working well, but again, now we put a lot more activity comments in there. So, every day, in other words, if a supervisor comes in, they work on a particular project, every day he comes in making notes in addition to that work order. So one work order might be several pages long if it's in the process of something happening with it. It's very detailed. What we're going to try to do is get a summary maybe to put together some way where you might just have the name of your the work order or the project in your area, and it's going to be very, basically what it was before maybe, just the name of the project, the location, and a date on it. That's about all we can do. We put the comments in there, and it's going to take up hundreds of pages.
Mr. Rue, I would be interested to know, have we started grass cutting yet? Where are we with that project? I've got people asking about the ditches being cut.
No, they have started. It's in the project rotation. The state crew is in, I think they just finished the 431 area. On that side, they're getting ready to move toward, I think, the 42 and up to the Galvez area. So the rotation has started.
Do we still have two separate crews? Didn't we have one that took one side and one the other side?
Yes, ma'am. We have two crews. I really don't know where the crew on the west side of airline is. I don't know what their location is. But again, all the state crews are working and all the parish crews are working on the grass cutting.
The grass is early this year because we had a warm winter. It's already taller than it should be, and one of the complainers is my husband.
What I do,
but I've had others call and ask me about it too. But
what I
he
do
said,
is,
what's the matter with 621? He said the grass is getting tall.
I'll put together the schedule that the grass crews work by, where their routes go as they go around the parish. I try to put that map together. It's actually a map.
That would help.
And then distribute that to the council.
That would help. Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Since Councilwoman brought up grass cutting, on the grass cutting crews, Bill, are they picking up the trash before they mow?
They're supposed to, and they're not able to all the time. We do have one crew. That's all they do.
Yeah. Well, I've got a tremendous amount of trash on 42. I don't know where it all came from all of a sudden. But
on 431, I noticed it today, too. It's very hard to try to, what we're supposed to do is pick up the trash prior to cutting. And it's very hard to keep up. with just about 4 or 5 people in 2 vehicles trying to pick up the trash. It's just almost impossible. In addition to that, the sheriff's office has their adjudicated people on weekends picking up trash along the highways. We also have the inmates picking up trash.
Hunt Correction, they were out recently, but
Hunts,
if you get them on 42, I'd appreciate it. It's atrocious.
Yeah, but it's very hard, very hard.
Mr. McConnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to also direct a question to Bill on the grass cutting. How do we determine, Bill, when we're going to cut grass as opposed to when we're going to spray Roundup in the ditch? Do we have a rule of thumb
Yes, we
on
do.
that? And the reason I ask is I have somebody who just had some Roundup sprayed in his ditch, and he's concerned about the erosion that it's causing there. And he's having the dirt, because of the Roundup, the dirt is eroding into the ditch, and it's gumming up the culverts and so forth, and the water is not getting down. And it's a highway ditch.
The process is one that we go through the first rotation and cut. And then we go through the second, between the first and second rotation, we come back and spray, because as the grass starts growing, that's when it's best to spray, because it absorbs the chemical a lot faster, and it works a lot longer. So we go through the first rotation of cutting. After, in fact, they already started the spraying, because after they cut,
Yes, I know.
about a week after they cut, they come back behind and spray about the same route that the cutting is. So they stay behind them about a week all the time. So both have started, but that's the way we work it.
Okay, well then I'll put in a work order tomorrow about the erosion on that ditch. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Oh, yeah, we'll get you the kind of report. I want to make sure we understand the report, so if you get with me after the meeting, Ken, exactly what you're looking for on the report on Public Works and so forth on drainage issues.
Yeah, we just want an update
You want a
on
monthly
ditches.
activity.
Yeah.
report.
It just
You
to
want
know
that,
what's
you
going
want it in writing, or you want an oral report by
No, in writing,
Public
just
Works
like
Director here?
We used
Okay.
to have it, and we would know when a ditch was going to come, and we could tell somebody, look, it's a month or 2 months away. If it was coming, it was on the list, and if it was already done, at least we would know, and we could go back and check and find out if there was any problems, because they do call us.
Yeah, and also, Mr. President, if I can pipe in on that, a couple of terms ago, we used to, Jerry will remember this, every time they completed a work order, they would send the councilman a copy of that work order, and it just got overwhelming. And so then we got them to do the report once a month saying, these are the work orders that we have completed in your district this past month, and these are the orders that we have outstanding, just to know where we've been and where we're going. It helps us to keep track of things.
It was a very good tool.
Yeah. The worst in the world you can do when people call and say, I don't know. And that's a very unsettling feeling.
Any more questions? Move on to number 6, time limit for presentations. I've got a policy getting compiled for us on this. It's not ready. Secretary's going to be sending y'all a copy of it, and we can probably move on it at next meeting. It's a copy of a policy that Mr. O'Neill has put together for us.
Can we get a copy beforehand, Mr. Chairman,
It's
and
going to be
give
sent
us
to you
a,
probably this week,
this week, think?
tomorrow, madam.
So we'll have a chance to review
Yeah,
it.
you have
Thanks.
a whole month to look it over. We'll move on to number 7, Pelican Land Service contract. Last month, we give him a 30-day notice, and this is the month that we need time to either terminate his contract or continue with it. So wishes of the board. Mr. Thompson?
I'd like to make a motion that we give him till the end of the year. He's been with the parish a while. He's done a lot of right-of-way work. And I just would like to offer a motion that we extend it to the end of the year, his quarterly contract.
I'll second that.
I got a motion by Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. McConnell. Any questions? What I want.
If we're going to extend it to the end of the year, what does that do for us, Bill, in terms of issuing task order? Because if we're going to do it to just the end of the year, then you're going to have to. Where is he now with existing projects? And if we go to the end of the year, I mean, what are we going to do when we get close to the end of the year? He's got a task order, and the work goes beyond 2006. I mean, how's that going to work?
Well, in all these contracts, when you get to the end of the term, whatever term it might be, there's a clause in saying that anything that you're actively engaged in continues until it's over with. But that's all our contracts are like that, engineering contracts, professional service contracts. So if you decide to do this and get toward the end of the year and he's actively engaged in some right-of-way acquisition, that one thing stays until it's over with. Everything else is counseled for as his contract, but he stays active. He's paid for that until it's done.
Mr. Chairman. My recollection, too, is the contract that's in force right now, in effect, doesn't have an ending date. I think it was just an open-ended contract to provide the services for us. And included in that contract, by the way, is consultation services. He's normally at each, I'm surprised not to see him here tonight, he's normally at each one of the meetings, and he makes himself available to answer questions. But as far as task orders and stuff like that, I think he was the first one that we gave the task order contract to a few years ago. But I don't think he's got anything going right now. Right now, he's just strictly providing us the consultation work. There's no project that he's actively involved in, and that by just giving him notice that this contract will remain in effect through the end of 2006 probably helps him make his plans a little bit better and helps us better decide where we want to go and where we want to be.
And I'm not saying that you can't issue task orders to, I'm against issuing the task orders to other companies or other consultants. All I'm asking is to extend his quarterly contract till the end of the year.
Mr. Chairman, Jerry had the end.
Bill, was there some concern from the administration as far as some of the verbiage in that particular contract versus the other ones that we brought on board last meeting, or not?
Yes, there's a lot of difference between the new contract, task order type contracts that we had proposals come in from other firms, and the old right-of-way contract that Pelican Land Service has.
The existing contract that we've got with Pelican, is that something you can live with for the rest of the year without no adverse effect?
The only thing, if that's the wish of the Drainage Board, the only thing I would advise is for you to make the motion saying that his contract is amended to reflect the fact that the only thing that he is working for the parish for is the consulting services and not the right-of-way agent services of that contract. Because, again, it's all inclusive. It's all one contract, but it says that he's going to be doing both things. For general consulting, I think it's a certain fee per quarter. And for right-of-way acquisition services, it's A, B, C, D, on and on. So it's all one contract. So if you want to keep him as a consultant only, I think you need to revise that contract, take out the agent part, and just leave the consulting part.
I have to go back to Councilman Thompson's original motion. What's your original motion, Mr. Thompson?
To extend his consultant contract till the end of the year.
Okay, consulting contract.
That's what I said.
All right. Is that, you understand what Mr. Roos said?
I understand what Mr. Roos says.
Okay.
And if this board wished to issue him a task order to do something, it's fine with me.
Okay.
Question. You can go, go ahead.
I don't understand what y'all doing now.
I was just wondering, do we have anybody else that we consult with? I mean, are we paying two consultants? I know we consult a lot with URS, so I don't know if they help us out in any of these areas.
Bill. I'll let Bill answer that. Mrs. Fontenot has a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I was just wondering, we're talking about keeping him on as a consultant. Do we pay only if he if we ask him something, or is he getting paid a regular fee? Like
No, it's, for the consulting part of his contract, is I think it's what, 13,
$1,500 per quarter, so there will only be
$1,500.
$3,000 from here to the end of the year.
$1,500 per quarter if we call them or don't call them. That's just to attend the meetings, and if we ask them a question, to answer the questions on
And I
right-of-way
guess-
issues.
I guess that's what I'm questioning. If we, if we have to pay him, or is anybody else do we consult with anybody else? Would we be paying two people?
Well, our right-of-way consultant, as in our professional services consultant, be it engineering, right-of-way, and other issues, is URS.
That's what I was
That's
asking.
our primary source of information on anything that we cannot answer in-house. We go to URS for all that information,
So
as directed by the board and by the council.
technically, we don't need another consultant.
Technically, no, ma'am.
Thank you.
I think Mr. Shakespeare was next.
Well, and that was, one of that was my question. I mean, in what capacity will this serve the parish was one thing. And I want to make sure we're talking apples and apples. We hear about a consulting contract, and he has what I understand, a unique contract different from everyone else. And my question is, why isn't he on the same type of task order contract as everyone else? And if not, then why don't we put Mr. Garrett on the same contract as task order contract as everyone else, with the same stipulations? And if there's a reason not to, then I'd just like to hear it.
Mr. Valentine, please.
I guess my discussion is aimed toward our last drainage board meeting. We had all this discussion last drainage board meeting. Talked about the type of contract Mr. He had with us, and it was concerned that we had to either do task orders or not. We got one more slot. We said that we gave him a 30-day notice, which is what the contract said. Essentially tonight, we need to vote to cancel his contract. I'm like Ms. Fontenot. We got URS as a consultant. We don't need another consultant. I know we probably used some of his expertise over the years for the last 2 years. I don't remember how many times we did. I don't know what Bill does. I haven't used it. I mean, maybe other people around here have. But we do have a national firm, URS, and, situation came up last drainage board meeting. We hashed this out. We got one more spot. He can vie for the spot along with some other people that are interested in doing right-of-way business with us. And, essentially we need to just follow through and cancel a contract tonight. And I'll vote against the motion. That's what we're going to do.
Any more questions?
May I speak?
If anybody don't have any more questions, Mr. Phillip has signed up to speak. Mr. Phillip Garrett.
Okay, George, to answer your question, I do quite a bit, and I have the contract is now through the end of the year. It was renewed. My fee is from 1998, and it's 41% of what the state charges now. Since they're not a lot, I wouldn't want to go in and do a long-term contract at $770 a parcel when the state gets $1,800. And on the proposal that I made for the future work is a different matter. That's where I would furnish surveyors and so forth, the same surveyors in most part that abstractors and so forth that y'all are using. Now, what I have done, if you remember, and Jerry I came to Jerry and Todd with it first. When the scope of services was put out by URS, I immediately saw that it was completely out of whack. Nobody else in the administration or anybody else said anything about it. The proposal cost came in up to $25,000 per parcel where there were relocations, and up to $15,000 per parcel where there were not. That was some of the higher ones. The one that y'all chose, and that one was chosen, I think they were going to negotiate it down somewhat. But if nobody had said anything, pow, it would have gone in. The primary one that you have a comparison here of, the Aguilar firm, after they revised the scope of services from my consulting with the parish. I said, this is not what we need. We can't afford to have 2 appraisers on every parcel and an appraisal reviewer and 2 surveyors just to make a turnkey to make it easier for Public Works to handle the thing. It didn't make sense, and I don't think that you are being frugal enough if you're going to spend twice as much when we have a perfect track record. I mean, I have been complimented by the members of the Drainage Board and the Drainage Board itself, the past parish president, and even Mr. Bill Rue, along with others. So we did a very good job, ahead of schedule, without any cost overruns, none, and no expropriations. You can't do better than that. But when we came in and looked at this thing...
Got another minute.
Okay. When we came in and looked at this thing, somebody had to say something, or it would have been, y'all have to take advice you don't know, and it wasn't brought to y'all. I would have, before it was advertised. They made some changes based upon what I said and revised the scope of services, and that's what you see before you. But even with the revised scope of services, this leading firm went up on his cost. Pretty confident. Had it done. Had it voted on. How in the world are the people of Ascension Parish going to vote for future taxes and so forth like this when y'all are throwing money away when you don't have to? Now, as far as my contract right now, if you leave it just like it is, y'all it automatically renewed. I would only get paid the 2 quarterly payments for the rest of the year. And if you did need an incidental, right of way, I don't know of any rights of way that y'all have pending or needed, except I still have some open ones on Laurel Ridge Levee, where some people didn't accept our offers, and the parish, with my advice, did not sue at that time because we already had the levy. I'll have to do that if y'all proceed, and there's no charge for that unless I have to go to court. So the reasons that are spelled out here, and the other page shows the rankings of the various people that proposed. But if y'all just leave it like it is and say Bill does need a parcel, it's $770. Way too low. But I signed the contract. And I've never had a contract canceled in midstream, and it will hurt my reputation if this happens. So I ask you not to do that. Let's leave it like it is.
Thank you, Mr. Bill. Mr. Hillsback.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to go back to your comments, Philip or Mr. Garrett, about saying y'all throwing money away, and based on how we voted. When we discussed this, it's been, some 3-4 months back. I can't speak for everyone around this board, but no, I didn't vote to discontinue your contract. I didn't vote to give it to Aguilar that night because it was pointed out that by continuing to use you, we were going to save the parish some $700,000, or I should say the taxpayers, because it is the taxpayers' dollars. So just for the record, and I can't speak for everyone else, but no, I did not vote that night to give that contract to Aguilar.
Mr. Rue, I'm looking at a document that says that that by using Pelican, we'll save $680,850. Is that true on the savings per parcel on the current contract and to what we're trying to do?
I don't have those figures in front of me, so I really couldn't comment, Councilman. And if I can say one thing,
I want to know apples and apples. What's the comparison of the two? I shouldn't say bids because
right.
it's bid, but the two task orders, so to speak, on doing right-of-ways. What are we talking about the difference, and what is it going to cost us for the parish?
It's hard to say, but let me and it gets kind of confusing on this. It's not a simple yes/no answer on much of it. One thing, it is totally different in going and getting a fee title right-of-way along a highway to enlarge a highway, as in Parker Road, Boudreaux Road. That's one kind of animal there. There's a whole different animal going along a bayou and getting servitude only, just for maintenance purposes. In most cases, what we're trying to do is get free servitude along these banks to improve the drainage. When we do have to, and we're going to anticipate that we're going to have to buy some when we start enlarging the bayous to some great extent, it's still not nearly as hard obtaining servitude right-of-ways along a bayou. It is getting fee title along a road, widening the road. You're taking people's yards and in some cases their houses and everything else. So to answer your question, when we're dealing with the drainage part of it, and these task orders going to the right-of-way people, we're going to negotiate the task orders for that. That's the beauty of a task order contract. When we go to some of these right-of-way companies, whomever it may be, we're going to negotiate at that point in time that task order. If it's just to obtain 2 or 3 simple parcels, we're going to talk to them, and it's not going to be to a set standard of $6,000 per parcel or anything like this. Again, it's a case-by-case basis, and we're going to negotiate every task order depending on the difficulty and the problems associated with obtaining that right-of-way.
And so what you're proposing that you put Mr. Garrett on the same type of task order everyone else is?
If that's the wish, I mean, it's we can put them on whatever you wish, or what kind of contract you want to put them on.
Yes, and the reason that we were looking at terminating the contract that they have now is because of wordage is not beneficial to the parish as it is now. It gives you greater leeway to do that, to do what you want to do.
Oh, yes, it does. I mean, you give us the opportunity to get a task order contract where he is obligated to, or any of these firms are obligated to negotiate and talk to us case-by-case basis. It helps the parish out.
Okay, so we would be beneficial for the parish to change the way we're doing it from now to what you're proposing.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I want to know.
Mr. Barger.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Rue, a little bit of clarification on the present contract that Pelican has versus a task order. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not quite sure, but I think the present contract, when we let out a stretch of parcels or whatever you want to call it, they get paid for the entire stretch. And what you're saying now is we're trying to get a lot donated in different things, and we may only have to buy 1, 2, 3, 4 instead of a whole track of 20 or 30.
That's right.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
And before, we would do first point of contact, we'd actually pay half of the contract. So if we mailed out a letter to those 20, 30, 40 people, we'd actually be invoiced for half, and we'd pay it up front.
That's basically how it worked in the past.
Right. So in essence, yeah, if we did 40 to 40, we may spend more with the task orders, but that's not how we plan to do our right-of-ways anymore. We're trying to streamline them, whereas we'd only be doing 10 versus 40, and we'd actually save a whole bunch more money than we're doing now. Is that correct? Is that the process y'all trying to get to?
I really couldn't commit to you right now that we're actually going to save that much money over what we're paying right now, because, but I'm saying that we're going to get the best price in doing a task order to contract negotiations, because we are being the driver's seat. We have enough restrictions and enough guidelines in those contracts where we sit down. We have several firms. I mean, there's nothing to say you can't sit down with one firm and get a proposal and say, well, that's way too high. Get the other firm. What can you do for us? What are your suggestions? With URS as our consultant, guiding the way and looking over our shoulders.
So really, we don't have any per se contract cost prices. So this list, cost comparison, may be totally bogus. It may not happen anywhere close to this. Is what you're saying?
Again,
because we're going to negotiate and get different prices. We really don't know what it's going to cost.
The only thing we have information on is our drainage program in the past, and that's pure right-of-way. It's actually servitude acquisition along vacant land mostly for servitude, for maintenance servitude only. And we have the right-of-way for the parish on road widening projects. And again, there's two different animals, totally different. Road widening is a lot more difficult and a lot more guidelines. You have to really be real strict in how you obtain the right-of-way along roads, how you treat the people, how you relocate the people. And again, that doesn't apply in most cases along the drainage servitudes, which is what the drainage board is involved with. So that's the only way, that's the only track record we have is what was done in the past. So I couldn't really tell you that we go to a new task order contract with these new firms that we're going to save a lot of money or it's going to cost a lot more money. It depends on how the parish controls and negotiates each and every task order. We determine what we waste and what we don't waste and what kind of deal we get. So I know that's maybe not a straight yes/no answer, or might tell you we can save money or not, but that's about the best I can do right now.
Mr. Hillenbeck.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Back to Councilman Barger's comments about, let's just use that example, a tract of 40 parcels. Excuse me. Since we're out there and we're actually buying right away, I just find it hard to believe that we actually have people donating. So if you got, let's say we're buying 37 and you got 3 out of 40. I mean, I don't understand, Bill. Why would anyone be donating right away now? Because the parish has been in the business of buying it, and word's getting out. I just find it. I don't see how that would go over. Answer me this: when did we last have property donated?
We have
had any donated this year?
Daily, almost. What happens, and again, we're going back to what we're doing now. In the past, we were up to this point on our dredging projects. We were making a significant enlargement of the channels and putting up berms, which is the earthen levees and all. And we actually had to get a large area of land along these bayous. And the board, drainage board in the 1990s, 1997, decided to go ahead and just purchase the land because they wanted to start moving on it. What we're doing now is doing maintenance, cleaning, and shaping. We're not making it that much bigger. We're taking the dirt and we're getting rid of the dirt, the berm dirt, or we're giving it to the landowner for his use somewhere else. We're not taking any land or going to be using or destroying anything along the bayous. We're just going to be going through, with our equipment and shaping and cleaning. Now, it gets to the point later on where the board decides after we get, we know for certain that the pumping station is good enough to handle a major enlargement of our drainage channels. If, in fact, the Burke-Klein-Peter analysis comes back and says everything's fine, and then the board directs us to go ahead and do major enlargement of the channels, then we'll go back and have to start buying right-of-way, just like we've done in the past. But up until then, we're getting donated right-of-way just to clean and maintain the bayous and shape them and do some erosion control along the bayous. And we haven't had any problems so far.
Any more questions?
Just a comment, Mr. Chairman, that if you recall that several years ago, I think in the 80s actually, when the major drainage channels were approved by State Public Works and by the East Ascension Consolidated Drainage District, in several of our major channels, we have 100-foot right-of-way for maintenance already on that as a result of those actions, and that's been ignored sometimes, but we're trying to remind them of that, and there's several channels that's happening on. So make sure we all remember that, and we gave all of you a copy of those canals.
Mr. Valentine.
Yes. I guess per the last drainage meeting, since we did give the 30-day notice, I'd like to make a substitute motion that we go ahead and cancel Pelican Land Services contract, and Mr. Pelican Land Service can negotiate, and I would suggest that we put it on the next agenda that we fill that third slot for the task order.
We got a substitute motion by Mr. Valentine to cancel Pelican Land Services contract.
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Fontenot. Any objections?
Question.
Question?
If I understood the discussion earlier now, this doesn't affect that third slot. We could continue that contract just for the quarterly consulting from now to the end of the year. And that doesn't affect filling the third slot, Joy. That's you comparing apples and oranges or mixing them together, but that and his contract doesn't affect that third slot that we're gonna fill.
I say we cancel his contract as it is written right now. Cancel it. If he wants to vie for the third slot, my point is we don't need a consultant. We got URS. If he wants to consult, if he gets that third slot for task orders, that's fine if he wants to do that. My substitute motion is to cancel his contract.
Questions? Any objections?
I object.
I object.
Roll call, Ms. Hill.
Councilman Chestnut?
Yes.
Councilman Thompson?
No.
Ms. Fontenot?
Yes.
Councilman Lambert?
Yes.
Councilman Sawa?
Yes, Mr. Valentine, substitute motion.
Excuse me. Correction. Dempsey, you first said you objective.
I'm sorry, take that back now.
Okay.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes, ma'am.
What you got, Ms. Hill?
Can we go again?
Okay, sure. Let's do another roll call.
Yes, I would like to follow the administration's request.
Okay.
No.
Yes.
No. Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes, ma'am.
Five yes, 4 no's.
So the motion carries. So moved. And put on the agenda for the third opening for the right-of-way contracts for next agenda. We're going to move on to number 8, Fife subdivision, Mr. Adrian Thompson.
Yes. The road that Fife subdivision has been having some flooding in that area. And we want to look at, I want to make a motion that we do some PM work on the flap gates and also make sure that the drainage that in Fife subdivision doesn't have any obstructions that's causing water, a backwater, anything like that.
Mr. Bill Root.
Yes, well, we did, they had GSA do an analysis of Fife subdivisions several years ago, and the only solution that you have is to institute some type of pumping system of that basin, that small subdivision basin. I think it was in the neighborhood of $400,000 then. Now it's up to probably $600,000 to do that type of work. The benefits, the other drainage board, the last administration felt that it just wasn't justified based on the amount of damage in there. However, some things did come out of the report, and we did go back and do some work on some flap gates. We need to go back and recheck that. I haven't checked it this season. Last season it was checked. They may need some maintenance on them. The other thing is a flap gate or some way of keeping the water out of the major ditch lateral coming off of Bayou Francois. That's coming and putting water into the back part of that. Now we may look at a control structure, pipe with a flap gate to keep some of that water from coming in. We started looking at that also. In addition, some work needs to be done along the roads themselves in that subdivision for adjustment of the culverts and redigging of some of the road ditches. Now, traditionally, that's outside the realm of the drainage board. Usually that's a road, at least with the parish, that's a road and bridge or the road department's responsibility. Now, in the city of Gonzales, we do not do road work or road ditch work for the most part. So we just need to determine if you want me to go and I can meet with the mayor and with the Public Works for Gonzales and see if they want to, what they are able to do and what they can do, and if they want to us participate somehow, we can come back to the board, with some suggestions on doing some of that work.
I want to make sure we do our part. And there is a lot of flooding there. And some of it is backwater. So, that's why I think we need to go in and look closely at it. No matter how much it costs to get it fixed, all I just want it resolved. I got a couple of residents that's calling me on a regular basis when they get a heavy rain. It's a lot of water. Some of it's backwater, and I'm just looking for help.
Yes, sir. I would suggest that I'll come back and report to the board at the next meeting. We have it on agenda. I'll meet with the city of Gonzales. Again, primarily on a heavy rainfall, it has to do with the road ditches not draining properly. And that's what the GSA had found out in their report several years ago. But I'll check with Gonzales and see what they're able to do and see if they understand the problems, and I'll report back to the board next meeting.
Thank you, Bill. Mr. McConnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Mr. Thompson's district, but I used to represent it in the last term, and I'm pretty familiar with it. And I just want to give everybody kind of a lay of the land of what's going on there. New River Bayou is actually high ground, and then the ground slopes away from it. So even though this subdivision is right adjacent to New River Bayou, it doesn't drain there. It drains into the back. It all slopes down to a wetlands back there, back behind Cheryl's mother's house. She knows it. She knows it very well. And there's some old ditches and stuff back in there that we've kind of been cleaning out. But then what happens to that water is it goes to some drainage pipes underground, which then come back to New River Bayou. And they've got, you can drive on New River Bayou and you see that walking trail and the bulkheads there, and you can see the pipes sticking out, and they've got flap gates on them. And so when New River Bayou comes up, it closes the flap gates, and while they're staying high, then the water is continuing to drain to the wetlands, but it can't come out of the pipes anymore, draining back to New River Bayou because the water is up and it's keeping the flap gates closed. So it's just like Mr. Thompson just said, the flooding is caused by backwater coming back up from that wetlands back there, and that's how it all happens. And we've looked at a number of ditches. We even went back in that wetlands and we found somebody had been dumping not industrial waste, but construction waste and we cleaned out those ditches. But really, what we need to do is find some way to make that property drain back to Bayou Francois, because it can't all get out of New River Bayou when New River Bayou is staying high. That's the problem, is when New River Bayou is high. If they can get that water out in the back and drain it back to Bayou Francois, that would take care of that subdivision. But we've never come up with a cost-feasible way of getting that done. So, Bill, I hope when we can get all of our heads together that we can do something for these people. They've been suffering that for a long time, and we need to do something for them.
And there's several issues on New River, just like Catherine Dale subdivision in my district is the same way. The river is high, the banks are high, and the water drains the opposite way. So there's several areas, that's got that problem. So Bill's going to come back with a report on that. We're going to move on to Chairman's report. I got Mr. O'Neill Parrington is going to come up with a lease agreement. We had Mr. Manuel Clue. Been working on this for about 9 months. It's some FEMA buyout property that they took the structure off the property. He's the adjacent owner, and he is wanting to lease this property, which is a normal lease of $200 a year, I believe it is.
This is the standard lease that we use every time for FEMA buyout
He's
property.
been through the procedure.
Well, you cannot make any money off of it. The benefits, obviously, are the parish. He has responsibility for the property, and it's the standard contract that we've used on every FEMA buyout lease that we've had.
What do you need for that?
Need a motion.
I'll motion that.
Second.
Jim.
Got a motion by Mr. Dempsey Lambert, second by Mr. Adrian Thompson. Any questions? Any objections?
I've been talking to Mr. Cluot about this for the past few months. It's
Yeah,
a cut and
been a
dry
while.
thing, and he's going to take care of the property, and it's going to be in better shape now with Mr. Cluot taking care of it.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to new business.
That's some new business, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Dempsey Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to let you, Drainage Board know that we had a bridge meeting on March the 28th. We discussed several bridges throughout the parish. There was one bridge, the Muddy Creek Bridge, that we're going to need the Drainage Board here to either we need a resolution to either let Mr. Keller submit for this grant, or did we look in to make sure that it needs to come out of drainage or transportation?
I'm not sure. I think we have directed it to transportation. The funding is in transportation. So it may have to go back to transportation.
Okay, just we need some direction to give a grant writer.
Mr. O'Neill, on this issue, I think last year we had redirected funding for the grant to Road and Bridge, for the Muddy Creek Bridge, to raise it. And it keeps coming back to drainage for us approving Mr. Paul Keller to go ahead with the grant. I think it needs to go back to Road and Bridge or transportation legally, right?
If it's a parish grant, yes. If it's a road and bridge project, if it's a road project, it's
That's
got to
where
be
the,
done.
that's where the funding is.
Well,
We're passing this back and forth. We need to find out where it's at and let's move on.
Well, I don't have, how y'all do it, it's just legally, if it's a road and bridge matter, that's not
Correct.
it's not a drainage board issue.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Chair? Make sure. Now, are you guys talking about this coming out of the hazardous mitigation money? Is that
No.
I don't think
No.
Mr. Paul's here to
because, and that's what we were trying to do before with, I think with Shaw. And some hazards, sometimes we have the mistaken belief that hazardous mitigation money can only be used for repetitive losses of structures or raising them or buying them. That's not the case. Now, it looks like that will be the case with the first $2.9 million coming down from Katrina, but it's supposed to be a lot more flexibility in the next bundle of money. But it's all going to be under hazardous mitigation. It's just the recommendations that we understand is going to be broader and more flexible as far as being able to be used for things other than just repetitive flood claims. For example, what we do to mitigate loss caused by natural disaster, because this could be certainly part of that. It's also one of the strategies we're using to try to get some money for Lamar Dixon, because we're showing we're using it as a shelter to mitigate loss as a result of a natural disaster in the parish. And so, and Bill, that was what, 5.2 million or so totally. They were first talking about 2.9, and then another, whatever gets to 5.2. So we just need to know exactly how we're doing this. Hazardous mitigation money doesn't have to all come through the drainage board. In fact, it comes down to the parish a lot of times. So, but it is certainly a road matter. So.
I might, Mr. President, I got Ms. Carla Cormier in the audience. I know Mr. Paul's not out.
Well,
Maybe she can answer this question.
If I can clarify just a little
Bill,
bit
sure.
before Carla comments.
Sure.
What we're doing is going back and seeing if we can get the exact same grant from FEMA that we were approved of before, but we didn't have a hazard mitigation plan in place. That's prior to all the hurricanes. We're going back to see if we can get that back first. And if we can get online and get it back, and it has nothing to do with the hurricane money. If we can get part of that grant back, that's the route we're going to take. If we're not able to get that, then, of course, we might go through some of the other hazard mitigation money or any other types of funding that's out there to make up the difference. So we are checking on that right now.
Ms. Carla, maybe clear up something, Parish President. I think we have 2.9 million, but I think the additional money has been by Blanco, Governor Blanco has been put in the Housing Authority, which she's going to be.
That is correct.
So
As
it's
of
kind of
last-
some money that is not going to be in this pot like it was
Correct.
before.
About 2 weeks ago, the Blanco plan redirected that hazard mitigation money, that second round of money, past our 2.9 into the state housing grant, actually the state housing plan, which is on her website. So they are actually utilizing those funds in that aspect instead of the drainage projects. But there are other funds like the PDM grants and stuff through your hazard mitigation division, but they're not considered actually hazard mitigation grants. So there are some other funds that Mr. Keller might be able to tap into.
And they can come from the council, not drainage.
Correct.
It doesn't have to come through drainage.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Hillens back.
Thank you. For clarification, this Muddy Creek, this is Muddy Creek Bridge we're talking about, and I don't think I ever heard Dempsey say it. And it's both a bridge project and it's a road project. We got to elevate the road, overlay the road, and raise the bridge. Now, when this, I guess I'm going to call it a saga, started was in November 2004, when the parish president put the matching money in the budget. I believe, Ronnie, and you correct me if I'm wrong, I think that was under capital outlay projects. The November 2004 vote, that's where it was, for the 2005 budget. $425,000, and I think that was the 25% match on a $1.6 million grant request from FEMA. Okay. Then in June 2005, this drainage board voted, when it shifted priorities, we decided to do a floodgate instead of raising the bridge, okay, per the 1982 plan. And so when the budget came out this year, the money is in the 06 drainage budget. That's where the money is. That's where the match is. Okay. Now, I think we fixing to shift and go again in a different direction, but all we need is we need permission, which I think ought to be a simple thing, for Mr. Keller, the grant writer, to go ahead and re-pursue this grant that we lost out on. And I think once we get the grant, then we can determine where the match is going to come from. Okay, because I believe we got 3 years to spend the money. Isn't that right, Bill? Mr. Rue, thereabouts, but we don't want to wait 3 years. So the question is let's go ahead and let's turn the grant writer loose for the parish, Mr. Keller, who's agreed to pursue this. I've got all the confidence in the world that he's going to get the grant, and then we can discuss where the funds are going to come from. If it's going to be from the drainage budget, or if it's going to come from transportation, or wherever. But let's get the grant. And so, Dempsey, was that in the form of a motion that we move forward? Is that your motion? From
That's what we had, Councilman.
Yeah, and I'll second that motion.
We have several bridges that keep coming up on the agenda, and we need to move. Either we're going to move from tonight from the drainage, or put it on transportation, wherever it belongs.
But that's a bridge on a parish road.
Mr. Shakes now.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Mr. Hillenbeck, the bridge that he was talking about, we'd already discussed it and moved it to transportation, so that's in there already. So we can move forward with that and encourage Mr. Keller to go ahead and move forward with the grants on that, and we'll move monies however we need to take care of it if there's grant monies involved. So we don't want to stop that at all. And then we can move forward with Mr.
Well,
Lambert.
Mr. Lambert, would you then put it on the next transportation committee out of? Okay.
Well, we had this discussion at the Road and Bridge, at the Bridge Committee meeting the other night, and Mr. Hillenbeck and I both differ. I understood that we had put the money under Road and Bridge to begin with. Mr. Keller came to us and said he didn't feel comfortable going after the grant because he's not hired by the Drainage Board, that he really would rather do it in administration. Well, I understood the money was already there in the budget in Road and Bridge, so therefore it should have come to transportation, which we've seen several times, but it's never been brought up in transportation. And so right now, you're getting all of us confused, I think. You know, you've been spending a lot of time on where we redirected the money. It's time that you find out where the money is for your project so you can get your project moving. We're not holding it up.
Yeah, I can clarify one thing. I've got the budget, I've got the 2006 budget for the drainage 04, and then under the capital outlay on 04, they got $172,000 for acquisition of vehicles and equipment, and $5,000 for major repairs on buildings. On East Ascension Major Drainage Fund, which is 05, under capital outlay, we've got $30,000 budgeted for land purchase, $382,000 for acquisition of vehicles and equipment, and major repairs on buildings, $5,000. So we do not have Muddy Creek Bridge in the capital outlay budget in either one of the 04 or 05. I'm looking at them here. I mean,
What we have
you're
to
telling me different? You know that I'm wrong with what I'm saying?
just a little corrected. We have 4 funds. The capital outlay funds is for drainage is actually Fund 35, and the capital outlay budget for road or the parish is road capital outlay is Fund 37.
We can cut through all that, Mr. Rue. Just tell us, is the $425,000 for the Muddy Creek Bridge project in the drainage fund? Anywhere in the drainage fund?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
It's in the. We have enough money
Coming from the drainage fund.
Right. We didn't put it in there. We have some money in there for the floodgates and from other stuff. You know, now in the capital outlay budget for road, when I made that up, I made sure there was enough money to take care of some things that we were hoping to do, but really wasn't determined by the board at that time, one of which is the raising of Muddy Creek Bridge, if the grant came through. So the capital outlay in the road budget, Fund 37, has enough money in it to cover our portion of the raising of Muddy Creek Road, if the grant comes through.
Okay, and where's that money, Bill, exactly?
It's grouped all with the project funds. It's all grouped together. And,
in which budget?
Fund 37.
Of the
road. That's the
transportation.
Transportation, capital outlay for transportation.
All right. Can we go ahead and put this on the council agenda for the next meeting, or do we need to beat it to death one more time in committee? I'm asking Ms. Fontenot. Is there anything else to discuss in committee? Let's just go ahead and put it on the council agenda, and let's give Mr. Keller his permission to move forward with this grant. Is there a problem with that, Ms. Fontenot?
I don't have a problem with it coming out of transportation, but this is just the drainage board. So you'd have to ask the chairman here.
I think we need to move it to transportation, and we have a transportation meeting next Tuesday.
Second Tuesday, yes.
Should be the second Tuesday.
Yeah, please put it on the agenda for me.
Mr. Lamb, Parish President, do you even need a directive? Can't you just have Mr. Kelly, he works for you, just direct him to go after the fund? I mean, just go after the money.
Because the money's there.
You got to deal with it.
And I was just talking to Carl in the back of the room on the thing with the government also. All the rules are still being promulgated on some of these other federal programs. Had some meetings last week on the special hurricane monies, and Congress is still debating some of the other issues, George, if they're going to send us more monies down. So, yeah, I mean, as Bill said, we've got some money in the budget there. It obviously is dependent upon us getting most of that money from a grant somewhere.
I mean, let me make something clear. The reason the confusion around the council is because the administration keeps telling us it's in this fund, and it's in this fund. I got moved from one 204 to another one. Hey, the money's there. We got Mr. Keller on board. Just have him go after the grant.
Yeah, but George, I think for clarification, the reason this money was shifted and moved and everything else was votes of this elected body. It didn't have anything to do with
Mr. Chairman, point of order. I think it's pretty clear that the money's not in this fund. It's over with. Move it where it belongs, and let's move on with this.
Mr. Chairman, please let me respond. It may be clear, but no one's showed me anything yet, or any of us, exactly what fund the money's in. I mean, so, Mr. Root, would you give us copies of the budget, shows the money, where it's at? Thank you.
I will.
Yeah, just, we're going to meet the last Tuesday of this month, and I'm going to request we have someone from DPW and an attorney, a legal there. That would be deeply appreciated. That's all I have.
Well, I just want to reiterate that we had a bridge committee meeting the other night. We had about 10 items on the agenda. We had no one from administration there. Now, I understand that our parish president is pulling his people from our council meetings, but he's got a corporate endeavor agreement with this drainage board. And I think that when we have a meeting, whether it's a committee meeting or whatever from the drainage board, that he should supply the people. Or maybe we should get a new administrator.
Mr. Thompson?
New business.
Right.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
We're going to go back to new right-of-way contract, because we left that off.
We're going to bring it up at the next meeting.
Well, I like to make a motion right now.
Second.
That we give a right-of-way contract to SJB and Pelican Land Service.
I got a motion by Mr. Thompson.
I already seconded it.
Got a second by Mr. Barger.
Task order.
Any objection? Any questions? So move.
Did we put that on the agenda and make it legal? New business? Okay. Still had to be put on the
Is that
vote
one
on.
contract? Is that two companies?
Two companies, task order. And Mr. Hillenbeck, to have new right-of-way contract on the agenda.
Yes.
We didn't do it on 7.
Okay, you're right. Thank you.
Mr.
Stand corrected.
Mr. Shakes now.
On the old business.
I got some more new business.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
got a couple people that want to speak. It's in the audience on new business. We have Aaron Chasson.
Mr. Shaston, do you have one more? You skipped a council member over here.
This is my name's Aaron Chasson. I live in Manchac Harbor. This is an erosion issue on, actually, coincidentally, Muddy Creek, but a different section of Muddy Creek. You've got about 7 pictures in front of you, as well as the plat map, which shows where the creek runs and the lots that kind of butt up against it. The 3 lots mainly affected are 85, 86, and 87 on that map. Just to kind of show you what you're looking at on the pictures, the first picture was taken back in June of 2005, and all the rest of the pictures were taken in February of this year. They show where the first picture, I believe, shows how that creek kind of turns off towards the right where those houses are, up on that bank. And as you go through and look at the pictures, you can see that there's some pretty significant erosion to the creek. The last page shows 2 pictures of a Demco box. And you can see, if you look really close, you can see in the top picture that a good portion of that box is now hanging over the edge of the creek where the land underneath it has eroded. And there's actually some live wires that run through that transformer box. And it's my understanding at the rate of erosion there, pretty soon those wires will be exposed to some to the water that goes through the creek or rain or any other water, which could pose a significant hazard. As I'm sure the council members are aware, water and electricity don't really mix too well. The second picture on that last page shows the extent of the erosion there. You can see in the creek the property line stake that has the orange piece, orange flag on it, and it's my understanding that that's where the top of the bank used to be. And I'm not certain as to how long the erosion to this point has been ongoing, but it shows that there's quite a significant amount of erosion. If you look at the plat map, you'll notice there's supposed to be a 25-foot drainage servitude back there. And if you look at the pictures, you'll see there's not even 25 feet of land that exists between the house and the current bank of the ditch anymore. So some of the other pictures, the 2 pages in the middle, you can see where on the what would be the 3rd page, the top one, where you can see the box from afar, you can see how the bank kind of goes straight and then makes a big scoop in towards where the box and the house is. The picture immediately before that, at the bottom of the preceding page, shows the remnants of an old bridge which was left behind when the subdivision was built. And apparently what's happening is that bridge is kind of acting almost as a bulkhead. And so when the water drains through the creek, as it gets past the bridge, the creek forces it towards that second house from the bridge, which is actually my house, and is causing the erosion up to, you can see how it kind of scoops in towards the house, up to that box, the transformer, and then going towards the house. Now, I'm afraid that if nothing's done about this within the next couple of years, that our houses are going to be in the creek. There's some.
I got Mr. Hillens back.
Yeah.
I think he's constituent.
Right. Yeah. For the board's information, this is my district, and Mr. Allred has been working on this, and Mr. Chasson, he spoke about 2 weeks ago, I believe, with the Demco reps, and he emailed me that information. After nothing had happened for a couple of weeks, then I emailed Ms. Cheryl Morgan with Demco Friday, and I got a response back from her this afternoon. In fact, I forwarded it to you. I'm sure you hadn't even been on yet. But she did say that they were going to get on this particular issue this week and see about getting this power distribution box, this center, moved out of the drainage right away. And in doing so, then that would allow DPW and Mr. Allred and his crews to come on through Manchac Harbor and start working. They've already worked the next section of Muddy Creek just east of Manchac Harbor on Mr. Perdue's property. And this definitely needs to be taken care of right away. So.
Oh, thank you, because I've been dealing with Demco since September, and they come out every couple of weeks and they spray the lines and say they're going to do something, and nothing ever happens. So I've been kind of hit a wall there.
How old is the subdivision?
I just moved in September. I'm not certain how long the subdivision itself has been there, but I can only say I've been in it since September.
Do you know?
Next question is, has it been accepted into the system?
Yes.
It has?
Mm-hmm. You talking about the Muddy Creek?
No, this subdivision.
This filing.
Oh.
Yeah.
I believe, and I could be wrong, Mr. Thompson, but I think it's about 5 years old.
You
section.
still see some houses in some of these photos that's still under construction in this area.
Berger was doing work in that subdivision, weren't you? You know if that filing is about filled up, Berger, you know?
It has been. I think Kent was, Councilman Shakespeare knows something about the plan several years ago.
Well, no, I was just curious as to why this, with that ditch at the slope as it is, and with only 25-foot right-of-way, that the houses are being approved on this plat. How did it get past DPW on approval on there where it's so close to these houses? I mean, this should have been, this is a pretty obvious red flag right here on I know 86 and 85, something that we need to take a look, and I don't know who's responsible for the inspections on that, but this is the type of things that, I mean, it's pretty obvious. What is this, a 10-foot ditch at least? And the houses are not more than 40 or 50 feet from there. We need to have a lot more room because it's going to erode. I mean, these things are built. They're not built to handle this type of slope, and it's going to erode. This is not something that's surprising. The erosion is not surprising, but it's just surprising that houses are allowed to be built that close to it. So hopefully we can pass through to Planning Commission whoever does the engineering and inspection, that they need a lot more room on these things, because they're going to be more and more of these subdivisions being built close to these drainage ditches, and hopefully we can get a lot bigger setback than this. So whatever we need to do, if we need to pass some legislation to ensure that we have enough setback so we don't have to run across this anymore.
Mr. Shakespeare, Sidewalk.
Bill, how are we addressing this problem?
Okay, on this particular problem right here, Mr. Hillenspec is right. We've been in contact with DEMCO for several weeks. In fact, our attorney has written them a certified letter on demand for them to move the box. They are in our right-of-way. They wanted to do some other things, and we said, no, move your box. That's what they're doing. After the box is moved, and again, it's supposed to have been last week, actually, and they put it off to this week, we're going to go in there, we're actually going to add dirt to that bank. We're going to reestablish the original bank line along there. Then we're going to rip-wrap it and secure the bank line. At the same time, remove some of the other old bridge structures and other things that might be causing some of the problems. We're going to fix this. The problem, though, goes a little bit deeper than this, and that is, going like the parish president said, we need to start utilizing our 100-foot servitude rights that's under the natural drainage law of the state, and that is the Planning Commission, and we're in the process right now, DPW, is putting together a map, not only the ditches that's already been accepted in 1984 with that 100-foot of servitude, but also new ditches and new channels that should be part of that law. We're going to put together a map, and we're going to have meetings with the planning department, and part of the requirements when a subdivision comes in, they're going to be required to look at this map. And if a subdivision has a major channel going through it, we're going to get involved with telling the subdivision developers where you can come, how close you can get to that ditch. And there's not going to be any exceptions to it. They have to get permission before the Planning Commission will accept that subdivision. DPW is okay. That wasn't done several years ago. That's all going to be tried to put into the new drainage ordinance also. We have major problems with this. Developers went with a standard servitude, 25, 30 feet, whatever it might be, on these major drainage channels, and you can't do it. It's especially in the northern part of the parish, because of the sandy type soil, you have erosions. And so that is some of the things we're actively involved with right now to correct this throughout the parish.
What kind of money are we talking about spending here?
For us, very little, except for manpower. We have the dirt and we have the riprap, which is the concrete blocks. And so just our labor in correcting this situation.
Well, this brings to mind two resolutions that this board has passed previously. One is erosion control or erosion problem that we have at Francois and at Airline Highway. Is it close to Airline Highway? And we've already approved spending up to $60,000, I think, or something to that nature. We've also hired GSA a while back to do a study on erosions on the bayous. Their recommendation was to come back and address the approaches to bridges that have serious or major water traffic. And I'm going back to particularly Mr. Bullock's property and Mr. Jumaville's property, which both have bridges on their property and have erosion control. And one of the pieces of property is eroding out of our servitude. And I haven't heard any more about that. I've been very patient waiting. But it seems like I'm going to have to bring it up regular to try to get something done on those pieces right there.
And to answer that, Councilman, you're right. Very little has been done on it. And the reason is Hurricanes Rita and Katrina. When that happened last year, that put DPW into a tailspin. If you remember, we went back, and our number one priority is the flooding situation throughout the parish. So we've been putting everybody, all our assets, our engineers, our personnel, on trying to solve those problems first. We got off erosion. We got off a lot of things. So we can actively get involved with the flooding problem, because we know we're going to get into another season coming very shortly. And our priority is flooding and correcting flooding situations. So you're right. Very little has been done on erosion control, basically because of that.
pretty much got this project ongoing.
Oh, it's on, we know what needs to be done, we know how to do it. It's just the fact, it's just the manpower and the money has been reprioritized. And as soon as we can catch up with some of the flooding problems of the parish, then we're going to start going further into the erosion control, as time and money permits.
And there again, we redirected some money to the Muddy Creek Basin, and that was one of the reasons. It is in bad shape. We're getting quite a bit of publicity against why we redirected money, but Muddy Creek Basin, Bayou Henderson Basin are in desperate need of some help. Upstream of where you at, they having major flooding issues. So that canal is taking in a lot of water. So we are addressing it in many ways. Thank you. Mrs. Fontenot.
I've had several of the planning commissioners speak to me about the fact that we have no one from DPW for them to ask questions when they're dealing with certain property. And tonight we're hearing that maybe we're approving some properties and stuff where the servitudes are concerned, and now you're saying that we might need to have them look at these maps and stuff so that they'll know what they're doing. I know that administration doesn't want to put any more people, but guys, maybe we need to think from the Drainage Board that we should have somebody representing the Drainage Board at the planning and zoning meetings. Something for you to think about.
Thank you.
Mr. Hillenbeck. Just one last comment. As soon as that box is moved, DPW can't get in there with their equipment with the box in the way. So once it's relocated, Mr. Allred's assured me they'll be ready to get started and do that next section and do the repair work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I also wanted to say, too, Mr. Paul Batts, who's the property owner for 85, the lot next to mine, is
Who
here
is that
as well. Paul Batts, he's the
Yeah.
property owner for 85. He didn't sign to speak or anything, but he did come and sit through the meeting, so I just wanted to acknowledge that he was here also.
Thank you.
So thank you.
We got one more person in the audience. I think it's Joni Stafford. I think she might be walking in now.
I think she just stepped out in the lobby.
Yeah, I see her coming. Mrs. Stafford.
Actually, I'm here to try to lease a piece of land that the parish has, but Mr. Bruce, the guy that owned it before the parish bought it, he said that it was a verbal agreement that if it comes up for lease, that he has first options for it. And he's up here. He's on his way up here. I don't know how long he's going to be, but we're trying to. That's the issue that I need. I just want to rent the property from whoever, and it's in a flood zone. So
I think Mr. O'Neill you could probably sit with Mr. O'Neill. He could, same way we went with one tonight.
Maybe Mr. Rue.
I have been trying to call for the past 2 weeks. So I don't know. I keep getting Mr. Don Diesel and Miss Mary.
This is our legal, so it's a different office.
I want to do this.
Okay.
It's been a big issue. I appreciate it.
Mr. Mann, you got it. Oh, is that the same? We might have already leased that property.
That'll call Mr. O'Neill.
Yeah. Still calling Mr. O'Neill on Okay, I think that's all of I got one person who wants to speak on old business. If you want to let the audience speak first, Mr. Mitchell Epps.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to address you this evening. My name is Mitchell Epps, and what I understand, there's some more engineering studies being made of the Henderson Bayou floodplain. And it appalls me to understand why we just keep engineering things to death. We had an excellent study made of this whole drainage system, but the Follette, back in '82, and it was a total, complete, and thorough evaluation. And one of the things that came out of it was to put a pump station on Henderson Bayou. And here we again still spending Parish's tax dollars doing more and more engineering studies. And the question is, I see, why don't we get on with and do what we plan to do? That's what we told the taxpayers when we imposed a 0.5% sales tax on them in 1982 that we were going to do the work that was outlined in the Follett study, and that was to put in what is now the Marvin Bro pump station, put in a pump station on Henderson Bayou, clean out all the bayous and the tributaries, which was basic and fundamental, and all that work was all the pump stations were to be completed in operation by 1987, and the other work was to be completed a long time ago. And part of that Prescott and Follett study, in which we sold the taxpayers that half-inch sales tax on the work that was to be done in that study, which at that time amounted to about $20 million that was going to be charged to that work. And here again, it's been 24 years since we've been charging that half-a-cent sales tax, and we still haven't got the work anywhere near complete. So it seems a shame that we're just not being fair with our taxpayers. And the other thing in the Prescott and Follett study, part of that was that when we completed the work that was in that study, which was the basis in which the taxpayers were asked to approve the money, that half-a-cent sales tax would be dropped after the work was completed, and any bond monies that were retired, like the capital that you would have to build the pump stations, when those bonds were retired and the work would be completed, that half-a-cent sales tax would be dropped. Now, the taxpayers were told that when they were asked to approve that sales tax. And that's been 24 years ago. And I'd hate to see the dollars that's been accumulated on that half-a-cent sales tax in the last 24 years versus what we was estimated would be dedicated to a $20 million project to do all the work that I was outlined. So that's the point I'd like to make. Let's look at the big picture and let's get the work done that we made a commitment to do and told the taxpayers we'd do, and let's drop this half-a-cent sales tax, which we said we'd do when we finished the work. So that's my point.
Thank you, Mr.
So I'd be glad to try to answer any questions.
Mr. Mitchell, that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to move on and get the pump station done and the levees done. And quite frankly, what we had been advised is that over the past 24 years, and I don't know what was done 24 years ago, but what we've been advised is that over the past 24 years, because of all the different type of delays that has happened in the past, that things have changed drastically, that the parish has grown and doubled in size. We've had settlement people in different areas, and because of that, this thing needs to be revisited to tell us how much it's going to cost, exactly how much that money that we have and where we can put it to best meet the needs of the people of the parish there, how much these projects are going to cost as we go so we can spend it and get it done. We want to get it done, but all the cost estimates, all the things that were given to us in the past, from what I'm being told, has drastically changed. I mean, just
I'm
like
sure
a house,
that has on
just like a house 25 years ago.
But why we need to keep doing engineering studies and doing modeling and all that.
Because it has been recommended by administration to do that.
I can answer a little bit because, and this is probably for the general public as much as the board members. There is a procedure that you have to follow to build anything, and that is a metal building behind the parish barn, or it's a multi-million-dollar drainage structure. First, to get the design, you have to have information. A design engineering firm will not just throw a piece of paper on a drawing board and just draw something, especially off of a plan or something that was evolved 24 years ago. First thing that engineering firm would need is a model to know exactly what kind of flow it's dealing with now. It also has to look at the effects of that pumping station, where that water can be going. This particular instance on Henderson Bayou, a lot of people thought or think that the pumping station is going to go on the Amite River where the floodgate is now. That's not the situation. It's really the ideal location for it is further upstream. But then you have the problem of pumping that water onto the people of Port Vincent and the lake. So that was a major problem back in the 1990s. That issue came up, and you had a lot of opposition to it because of that. So that model shows a lot of things. from the model, they're able, if the board wants to go forward with the design of it, the design engineering firm used that information to design the pumping station. You have to have a new stamped engineering design to go out for bids. So again, everything builds on itself. We cannot just go out there and say, engineering firm, draw this up and let's build it. It's just not that easy anymore. They have a lot of hoops you got to jump through because we are a government entity. We're spending the public money, and it's just a procedure that we have to live with right now.
Well, I just hope it don't take another 24 years to get this done, because I think we made a commitment, a promise to the taxpayers to get the work done that we committed to and sold them on 24 years ago, and then drop this half-cent sales tax that we imposed on them to do this work with. That's my only comment. Thank you.
Mr. Mitch, that's exactly our intent, Mr. Mitch. That's exactly our intent. We asked them to get it done as quickly as possible, and they said this was the method to do it as quickly as possible. And may I add that one of the problems that we're put so far back right now is some people in the past had decided to forego a lot of these formalities and just started digging.
Oh, I know. I knew what went on back then.
And nowadays, we are paying the price for that, and it's cost us a great deal. And so we want to make sure that whatever we do it properly, we do it as timely manner as possible, and we've asked them to go as quickly as possible and get this done as quickly as possible. So we're trying to move forward.
Thank you, Ken, and I
we
believe
do realize that we
y'all
have a certain procedure.
Sincerely intend to do that.
Yes, sir.
And that's the purpose of me being here tonight.
And we appreciate
to make
you
everyone
being
aware that we need to do what we promised the taxpayers was going to do, and get rid of this half-cent sales tax. It can't go on forever because we said we'd drop it when we finished the work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. Bill or CJ, do we have any updates from CDM on this?
No.
Anything?
No, they're just getting started.
Just getting started. Thank you.
Mr. Hillinsbeck.
Yeah, I've got two items under old business. Mr. Rue, sometime back, the Bridge Committee voted to add a flat car and some rails on Reese Burat's Bridge. Would you take a look at that and maybe send me an email what the schedule is, when we're going to get to that?
Yeah, I know it's on the schedule, okay. But exactly where I can find out and have somebody contact you or email you myself.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right. The other item is last meeting I did a PowerPoint presentation on funding priorities, Part 2, and there was a few questions that were asked, a few statements made. I want to respond to all of that, this body in June of 2005 voted to shift priorities and end the major dredging program. And what we did was we shifted $13 million in major drainage money. And just want to remind the board that we do not have a permit to dredge. The permit that we do have to dredge will expire in August 2006. And I really think we should be pursuing the renewal of that existing permit, not allow it to expire. The money that was transferred to build a levee, I want to remind everyone, we do not have a permit to build a levee. I understand in 1983 when this levee extension was talked about, they were going to build. There was not only threats by residents from within the parish, but also threats by residents from Livingston Parish that they didn't like the idea that we were talking about building a levee to contain that floodway. And I think the threats were they were going to dynamite the levee. I want to bring that to point. Another reason I feel like the levee is a bad idea is simply the cost to mitigate the wetlands. I think the cost is going to be astronomical. And in fact, there was a gentleman at the last council meeting that stated that mitigating hardwoods in Sanamah community right now is costing about $45,000 an acre. And I'm not sure on the Lake Ridge if I think we do have some hardwoods. I know there's some hardwoods being logged at this time just north of Laurel Ridge Levee. So I just think the cost to mitigate would be astronomical. And the other issue I want to bring back is the fact that the public refused to sell their property the last time this was attempted, and I'm just asking the board what's changed since this was brought up the last time in 1983. Now, the question was asked several times, why have I been so persistent about pursuing the dredging of Gonzales? It's real plain and simple. We must dredge Gonzales, Bayou Narcisse, and Bayou Narcisse and Bayou Francois in order to dredge north of Gonzales. Am I correct, Mr. McConnell? You don't have a problem. In fact, issue was brought up. Why had Mr. McConnell bringing this point forward? Well, as it is in Gonzales right now, it's not an issue. It's not a problem in the city of Gonzales. But I can assure you, if we skip Gonzales and begin dredging, Mr. McConnell will be the first person, along with probably the mayor of Gonzales, that's going to have a lot to say about it. There is no problem in Gonzales at this time. However, there are big problems north of Gonzales in Ms. Fontenot's district, Mr. Barger's district, Mr. Valentine's district. There's problems in my district when you get over to Black Bayou. I've stated this before. I'm not against building a levee if we can get a permit for it. I just don't think that this should be the number one priority. The number one priority should be helping the people that are flooding along Bayou Narcisse, Black, Grand Goudin bayous by dredging. The last thing is, at the last Drainage Board meeting, Mr. Savoy said that my presentation was erroneous, full of, didn't have my facts right. In fact, Jerry even said it was garbage. Well, I brought my presentation in hard copy, and I want to know specifically where do I have my facts wrong. I'm still waiting on your response because you had told the media that night at the meeting, you made the comment that don't quote me on any of this. I will have a response for the media, and I'm still waiting on what your response is. I mean, it's one thing just to say, well, I have my facts wrong. But it's another thing, I want you to point out to me where I have my facts wrong. And that being said, just want to make that public. Thank you.
Okay,
Let's move on. Please, let's move on.
any questions?
I will get that response. That's all I got.
We got some old business. NRCS, Mr. Bill Rue, this is on Panama, Conway, and some of the canals. We got some, maybe some bids on getting these canals.
Yeah, and that was my question. I was curious as the status on the dredging of the Panama and the Conway.
Bill's got an update on it.
Yes, and just a point of correction, we are not dredging Panama
Right,
either.
Okay, we are not, is that a fact, dredging
we are
Panama
cleaning
and Conway?
Right, cleaning and making more efficient Conway and Panama.
Thank you, Mr. Rue. I'm just was checking. Because I was told we were.
Not dredging. Yes, we did, and the reason we don't have on the agenda this item, it actually came in Friday afternoon. The representatives of the NRCS reviewed all of our channels, at least 3 or 4 of them over the last week and a half. And they rushed some pricing to us, estimates of construction costs to take care of some of the bayous. And this is what they estimate and what they propose. On Bayou Conway and Panama Canal, again, just going through there and taking care of the major debris that was left over from Katrina and Rita, and also taking care of some other problems, in other words, kind of like they did in Bayou Manchac a few years ago. Any tree that looks like they're about to fall or they're real close to the edge, go ahead and take them out so we don't have the problem if we get another storm this year or next year. That's all they're able to do with the funding that they have. They're limited in what type of work they do. Now, for that work on those 2 canals, they're estimating $455,000, be the 25% match. Our share would be $113,750 to take care of both those channels from one end to the other. Now, and let me go through all of them, then I explain what, in addition to this, what we have, DPW is talking to them about and our plans. On Bayou Manchac, they really need to go through and look at it again because of all the damage from Rita and Katrina. $65,360 is the estimate. Our share is $16,340. If you remember at some other meetings, we had a lot of problems with some landowners because we went on their property, pulled trees out from the hurricane, and not able to get them out. Part of the deal going up there with NRCS, they're going to clean the bank line, too, of the trees that we pulled out and not able to get out. But our portion, again, for that is $16,340. Frog Bayou, same thing, $42,800 total cost. Our share, $10,700. It comes to a total of our share of $140,790 to do all of these 4 major bayous. Total cost $563,160. Now, what we plan on doing, in addition to this, once they initiate the contract, take the bids in, what we would like to do is to negotiate our separate deal with the contractor while he's there to go in there and clean all the mud banks and sand banks and whatever other debris that's in the center of the bayou. Work a separate contract with them to do it at the same time, and we think that's the best bang for our buck because they're there anyway, just adding on, amending their contract to do a lot more than what they're able to do strictly under NRCS. So that's where we're at right now. What we're asking the board is to allow us to send a letter to NRCS accepting our 25 or authorizing them to proceed, committing to our portion of the total funding of $140,790.
I got a motion by Mr. Shakes and a second by Mr. Thompson to approve the contract and the matching. Discussion, Mr. Hillensback.
Hey, what was that cost again, Bill, total cost? $140,000?
On which one?
You
Okay, our total cost for all 4 bayous or channels is our share is $140,790.
Okay.
And this is an estimate, and it might be a little bit high, a little bit low based on the actual bids that come in. This is the estimate.
Okay. I guess the question I have, Mr. Rue, is the 2006 East Ascension Construction Fund recap money. They're reading it right out of what we approved, what we voted on. Bayou Conway, $357,500, and Panama Canal, $350,000. Where's that? What's that money going to be spent on now?
Okay, just like I just said, when that was put into the budget, we weren't anticipating, or at least we weren't saying that depending on getting money from NRCS for us to go do that work. What we were saying is we were going to go do it. Pay for everything ourselves. Now, with NRCS coming in, again, we're going to go in and negotiate our own contract, amendment or addendum to that contract with them to do extra work. Now, we're going to spend portions of this funded money to pay for this $140,000 and also to do the extra work that needs to be done, especially in Panama Conway and Frog Bayou. So again, when that budget is made up, we were doing an estimate of us paying for all of it, and that was just an estimate, budget estimate back then.
When is this scheduled to take place?
If we give them word tonight or tomorrow morning that the board authorizes them to proceed and you're responsible for your share, they're going to get the contract together and try to work on the bids immediately. Because they want to get as much done before the major hurricane
Well,
season.
that's what I was concerned,
Right.
because they're so stopped up now, and if we get another hurricane, there's almost no drainage.
No, and that's why it's critical that we take it to bring it to the board tonight.
Please do.
So we can give them an answer tomorrow, and they can get to work on the contracts and the bid documents.
Bill, question I have is since it's pretty obvious we over budgeted for what we're going to have to spend thanks to NRCS. So can we redirect some of these funds to go up and start on Muddy Creek? Because I'm telling you, it's just bad all the way upstream of Mr. Chasson's, where the pictures he's presented. We've got some people that are just very concerned about flooding, Charleston subdivision, all along Highway 929.
Well, Council, if we work under our operating budget, which is different from our capital outlay budget. This is coming out of capital outlay. If we do it under our operating budget, we have money there to proceed immediately to wherever we need in the parish with our own forces to do the work. This is contract labor that we spend out of capital outlay. Now, that can be redirected. Now, I suggest after we see what the total cost of doing this work with the additional work that we want the contractor to do, see what the total cost is, look at the budget at that time, and then the board can redirect some of that funding to other things to be contracted out instead of our own forces going out and doing it under the operating budget. Contract it out, put it under capital outlay budget, and proceed a lot faster. Again, if that's the wishes of the board.
Well, I'd like to, once this is finalized, I'd like to get Mr. C.J. Godin, maybe Mr. Allen Allred, and yourself out. We'll go out and kind of look at some of these areas that are in dire need on Muddy Creek that need immediate assistance, and then maybe you could come back with some type of recommendation to the Drainage Board. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I got a motion by Mr. Scheck-Snyder, second by Mr. Thompson. Any objections? So moved. I got Ms. Carla Cormier wanting to speak on old business, give us an update on some of the FEMA buyouts, which has been moving right along.
Just have a little memo for you just to recap. The Hurricane Katrina applications were due April 1st, but because of some delays, everyone was requesting extensions, so the parish also has received an extension to August 29th. That application is going to be for approximately $600,000 in grant funds, and as you can see, as this is coming around, Ken, if you can let me know when you get yours. The application is only for severe repetitive loss underneath the Katrina, and currently we have 6 people that are considered severe repetitive loss, and all of those 6 are participating, and we have 2 additional meetings pending. If those funds go over the allotted amount, those roll into our Katrina funds. So we will put those homeowners into the the RETA application. Of the 6 homeowners, 4 of them have acquisitions, and of those 4 already have 2 appraisals that were just picked up today. So the homeowners are underway. They are working. And of the elevations, 2 are in process, and they're going to have their property inspections very soon. So the Katrina application is underway. The Hurricane Rita application is for $2.3 million in grant funding, and again, the application is extended to August 29th. We will not wait that long. As soon as these homeowners are ready, the application's finished, we're submitting it. The state has guaranteed that it will be about a 2 to 4 week turnaround because state and FEMA are in the same office now. So as soon as our application gets in, it will be a quick response. The application for the RETA is not only severe repetitive loss, but you can see there the target structures of the parish and the repetitive loss, as well as any homes that are cost-benefit affected, cost-benefit elevations or acquisitions. So if they have had some damage due to Katrina and Rita and the flooding, if it's cost-benefit to buy out or elevate, we can include them in the applications. Homeowners who qualify have been contacted, and like I said, if any of them roll over from the Katrina, we will put them into the RETA if we run out of money. Of the participating homeowners right now, one is acquisition and one is an elevation, and we still have several meetings that are pending. So we still have homeowners contacting us. At the bottom, if you have any homeowners that have contacted you, please let them have my phone number. So please go ahead and get that information to them. But I cannot have any homeowners' names given to me tonight in this public meeting. Yes.
Repeat that, Ms. Carvey.
Which part?
The last part.
The last part, we do have some more openings. We can take about 12 to 15 more homeowners with the amount of money that we have for our RETA application. So if you know homeowners that have not made a decision or still want to be included in the application, we still have time.
The 2 names I gave you, had you contacted those 2 families yet?
We have attempted to contact, but we have not gotten a phone number on those people yet, a working phone number, so I will need to speak to you after the meeting. But don't give me a name right now in the open forum.
I thought you said that.
No. Please give me some names, but not during this meeting right here. So if you have any information or any other questions.
Any questions?
Okay,
Appreciate
thanks.
the update.
Sure thing.
Any more old business?
I got it.
Sidewalk.
Yeah, one, this is for Parish President. Mr. Hughes, you had asked the Attorney General for an opinion about the Drainage Board falling under parish government. Have we got that opinion yet?
No, sir. We got one from the district attorney, but not from the attorney general.
Did they give you any kind of time frame as far as when to expect that?
When I called them the other day, they gave me a person that they said was handling it, opinion number. The person has not called me back yet. So they have not given us a timetable.
Okay. The other thing is, Bill, can you give us a status report on the bulkhead failures? As far as where are we at with trying to rectify that and move forward with that?
Well, from our standpoint, one thing you directed us to proceed with that one bulkhead failure on near Beco Road and Black Bayou, and we're having problems with that because of the location. We say we're going to go in and remove the bulkhead itself and put some stabilizing material, which is basically rock wrap, and try to stabilize it for the time being until the other issues are resolved, who's going to pay for it, and some other things. The fact of the matter is, even moving our track hole onto that piece of property, we feel that we're going to be we're trying to negotiate something with the landowner. We feel like we're going to be in a real liability issue with the landowner about cracking the slab in his house and doing other problem with that house. Be honest with you, we're scared to move a heavy piece of equipment that close to the house with the, I guess, the attitude of the homeowner. We're right now in a stalemate. We really don't know what we should be doing. And we're, talking to our attorney on it and trying to work out some other issues. But be honest with you, we're at a stalemate on it, on that particular one.
What about the other sections of bulkhead?
We have the other one on near Highway 22 on Francois. That so far nothing has been done on that either. We entered into talks with GSA on some ideas of what they suggested to do with it, and we haven't resolved that issue either.
What about Roger C. Road Bridge? Is there anything there?
Ongoing litigation.
Well, let's put that on the next agenda for executive session. I thought we was pretty close the last time we discussed this.
Okay. Mr. Salvo, those bulkheads, you might want to put that on that executive session also.
Okay. We got one though on the bill or casing on Summerfield. It's the latest on it. I don't think that's a litigation.
That goes into another situation. Well, it could be.
Yeah.
And the reason is we had some analysis done on the soil because we thought maybe at one time that the subcontractor that put the field there put some contaminated field that caused the cables to rot that's holding that particular bulkhead. It's a wood bulkhead. The analysis came out as good soil. So we're looking at the cables themselves, and I think there may be a possibility of substandard cables, and they're causing them to rot prematurely and break. We're still proceeding with that to see what the best thing that we can do and find out our best course of action on it.
Appreciate it. Any more old business? My number 13. Motion by Mr. Potnell, second by Mr. Thompson to adjourn. Any objection? So moved.